uppercut, try to hit me in the gut, thinking that I won't react. You whispering my name, thinking I won't be the same. Turn fiction into fact. See what you didn't know, bruises that I'll never show, slipping on your every jab. So tighten up your fist, step into the ring with this. I hope your mama's got your back. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, pulling the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. Just 'cause I took a break, you're making a huge mistake, thinking you can take the throne. Look at you trembling, step into the lion's den. Bet you wish you stayed at home, begging for mercy underneath your breath when I ain't even sweating yet. My legend's written in the stone, yeah. You're crying danger in defeat is now your only friend. Even your mama's gotta know. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, only the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone, to After Dark. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a lot of fun. Hope you guys will come in and hang out with us. Actually, let me get the live chat up so that I can see what those rascals are up to in the live chat. But we've got a link now. It's pinned to the top of the live chat. Hit that. Come on in. We're going to be using Teams tonight. We're back to using that. It works great for us. So I'm hoping that there won't be any issues with it. And okay, yep. I wonder when someone in the live chat, if they say first, if I get to qualify, if I can qualify and say no, I'm first. Let's we can make that little shift right there, and then yeah, perfect. So what are we going to talk about tonight, huh? Well, there's more than a couple of things that I was thinking of bringing up, and now I really did. You know what? I was sitting here just organizing last minute things. I thought I had everything done, and now I don't have. I don't think I closed out the live chat, but I misplaced the live chat. I honestly don't know if Titan finds out about that. Hopefully I'm still muted. I'm going to go with I'm probably muted. It's quite embarrassing to just sit there and admit I don't know where the live chat is. I'm going to make one more attempt right there. You know what? I'm just going to recreate the link if I can't. Yeah, I'm not going to find it. So let me just, we can rectify this really quickly. Just go right back into the back end, and we'll be right there. So let me get that taken care of. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, it's a call-in show, so you guys can really discuss anything you want to. So I hope you guys can, any issues you want to bring up. But I do think there is a small rundown I wanted to hit. So let's do that, because there's actually some really important stuff that I think you guys need to know about and we need to have on the table for talking about tonight. In one hospital in Michigan, hospitalizations have jumped 88% in the last month. That is more COVID-19 patients than this hospital has ever seen before. Quote, "We have more patients than we have ever had at any point, and more of them die at a rate than we have ever seen die before." Now, this was Jim Dover, president and CEO of the Sparrow Health System. He continued on to say, quote, "The next few weeks look hard. We're over 100% capacity now. Most hospitals in the state of Michigan have gone to code red triage, meaning they won't accept transfers." Now, he's saying this because we are heading into the winter months when you are going to see hospitalizations spike. People are going to get sicker, and this is when you're going to expect it to get bad. And in Michigan, they're already having serious problems, and this hospital's over 100% already. He also noted that 25% of the deaths are unvaccinated people. Younger people, he said, were now coming in, and nationwide, COVID-19 hospitalizations are up over 40% from just 1 month ago. This looks like Omicron. We haven't really been able to keep up with the testing on Omicron, but it is spreading very quickly in the UK. They've identified 249 cases today alone, almost twice the number from the day before, bringing the total in the UK up to 817. If this continues, doubling every 2 to 3 days, that would drive the number up to 8,000 cases in a week and 64,000 cases in 2 weeks. This is in addition to the continuing wave of Delta infections. Initial data seems to suggest that the Omicron virus evades our immunoresponse that is created by the vaccines. It seems to evade it considerably. I think one report, if I recall, it said that the Pfizer vaccine had only 30% efficacy, and the Moderna was considered to have 0. Now, these are still initial early reports, but that's 2 reports that say the vaccine efficacy is roughly 30% or lower, at least, again, for Omicron. However, the boosters appear to increase this. So just a single booster shot increases the efficacy to somewhere between 70 and 75% in the first month. So we don't understand this a whole heck of a lot. We're going to start to have homozygote on more regularly because this data and some of the other data is we're just not understanding. So we're gonna discuss this, and again, this may be worthy of discussion tonight. But we also have this information and much more in our Discord. So I hope you'll come into our Discord, check it out, see what people are talking about, and we keep a good track and have a really good community on the Discord. I'm very proud of the discussions happening there, and it's somebody had come in, and I remember who it was, but I'm not going to embarrass the person. I don't know if they'd be embarrassed, but they had said when they had been on a bunch of Discords and came onto the In Time Discord, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, it just took me a little bit to get used to having adult conversations again." So yeah. Now, Godless Mom, who was a guest on this show, and a big fan of hers, actually did retweeted a reminder as to why vaccines are so important, and pointed out that, yes, vaccines do have, COVID has a 99% survival rate. So you sit there and say, well, gee, if you have a 99% chance of surviving COVID, it's not that bad. However, it's so infectious. The problem is it's overwhelming the medical system. That 1 in 100, if it infects enough people, causes a serious amount of... do we have... sorry, somebody... somebody had said there was an echo. I wasn't sure if... okay. No, I think it's something else. Wouldn't shock me. The problem is, and we've talked about this before, there were so many COVID patients in the ICU in a hospital in Los Angeles, and so much oxygen was being supplied. Now, when you supply oxygen, you lower the pressure in the oxygen system, and when the pressure lowers, the temperature goes down. This is why if you have like an air canister and you spray it, or even just a can of Lysol and you spray it enough, all of a sudden you'll see frost develop on the outside of the canister of Lysol. When the pressure goes down in the canister, the temperature goes down. The temperature dropped so much in this hospital that all their oxygen systems froze. The machinery froze. They couldn't supply oxygen anymore. This affects everybody who needs oxygen in the ICU, not just COVID patients. When there's a 12-hour wait outside of ER in Texas because, hey, you've had a heart attack, but everybody else needs, it's 12 hours just to get into triage. Okay, this COVID has a 99%, survivability rate, but that number doesn't speak to everything. And, if you have a heart attack, if you need kidney dialysis, all of a sudden these things, now a heart attack isn't necessarily a easy thing to contend with, but certainly dialysis, if you have kidney dialysis, or if you need kidney dialysis, that's a condition in modern times, is more of an inconvenience. You got to go to the hospital a couple times every couple of weeks and, go through dialysis. But there are no doctors now who can do it because they're all trying to save lives. And now dialysis in some places in this country, or kidney failure, which should be a treatable condition, is now potentially life-threatening. So, yeah, it's not just this 99%. If everybody gets vaccinated, most of these problems go away. The other biggie is we're developing new variants, and one of them could potentially be far more lethal. In fact, over a long enough timeline, one of them will be. We just don't know how long. I mean, we could be talking months, we could be talking decades or centuries. I mean, we don't know. But it's going to happen, and the only thing we do know is the more people who get this, the greater the likelihood of a variant, and the more variants, the greater the likelihood that one of them is going to be significantly worse than what we've got right now. So we slow this whole process down by getting vaccinated. And I'm starting to, somebody had posted a meme too about some woman who first world problems, I guess, had a sign up and said, well, gee, it's my body, my autonomy, and I refuse to get vaccinated. And I'm sitting there going, we're talking about saving lives, and it doesn't cost you anything. And, people sit here and talk about being patriots and they love this country. but I don't see it. I don't see it. You're not going to get a vaccine. I don't see it. I don't know what it is you love about this country, but it's not the people, it's not grandma. It just isn't. So, you're so paranoid that at any rate. Those are the two problems that the mortality rate just simply does not account for. And if Omicron really does have the increased mortality rate that at least it looks like it does, it may not. There have been some reports, too, that have said the mortality rate's actually lower. So I've seen one report that said every report I've seen says it's more contagious. We still don't know. It's still early, but we're collecting more data, and that's what the data is showing. Now, at some point, we're going to be able to make a definitive. We can't do that yet. But some of the reports also say it really does, or seem to suggest that it can be more lethal, and that it gets completely around the standard 2-dose immunizations. We still don't know that, but that's what the data seems to be indicating, and we're getting more data that reinforces that as every day passes. Now, if... oh, shoot, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I was talking about the woman in the meme and getting COVID vaccines. All right, well, I will move on. Meanwhile, the January 6th Commission has received a PowerPoint presentation that was in possession of Mark Meadows, and that he has since turned over to Congress. Now, he turned it over with a whole bunch of, I think it was 10,000 documents. They were in receipt of this, but The Guardian was made aware of this and has now had a chance to review this PowerPoint. The PowerPoint was entitled, quote, "Election Fraud, Foreign Interference, and Options for 6th January." It made a number of recommendations to Trump as to how he could remain in office for a second term. That was the goal. Not to correct election mistakes, not to correct fraud, it was to stay in office for another term. And this is one thing that I have not yet seen anybody point out about this document, but it's clear that this document was about finding ways for him to stay in office and finding a pretext for doing it, not actually having an honest or fair election or fixing any problems with the election. At any rate, it recommended briefing members of Congress about foreign interference, after which Trump would declare a national state of emergency and declare all of the electronic votes invalid. It recommended that Vice President Pence refuse to certify the election and either A, unilaterally reject all of the Biden electors in key states, leaving those votes uncast, or preferably to have Meadows send a slate of Trump electors himself to Congress for Pence to certify in place of the Biden ones. It said, barring either of those two options, Pence could simply refuse to certify altogether, demand that there be a vetting process and count only, quote, legal paper ballots, and establish Trump as a de facto president in the White House until such time as this count was properly done. Keep in mind, that's not legal, and not legal for any number of reasons. We're aware already, because we've discussed this, that this was a ceremonial role, and Pence didn't really have that power, and even Pence acknowledged that, and Pence asked the court to strip him of any even whiff of having that power. But having said all that, let's assume Pence could do it. Let's assume that Pence did it and did it legally. Let's assume that all of the either the Biden votes were not cast, or that the election was simply held as invalid, and the what was it? I'm sorry. If the election were considered to be invalid until such time as all the votes could be counted, Trump would not remain in office. Because he had not been properly elected for another term, nobody would become the new president of the United States. We would also have no vice president of the United States. By the order of succession, that would make Nancy Pelosi the president of the United States. If Pence refused to certify. Then there's no successful election. And okay, so there is an echo. My apologies. Oh dear Lord, I know why too. Entirely my bad. Sorry. Thank you. If he doesn't certify, the election's invalid, but we have to have a new president. That president would be sworn in. In the sense there's no successful candidate, that president becomes the third in line of succession, Nancy Pelosi. This is what Barack Obama should have done, is make Paul Ryan the president when the election was first called into question significantly for fraud. Apologies. I'm hoping that took care of it. Let me know. All right. Let me, yeah. All right. Hopefully somebody let me. I don't know how much time we have before this catches up, but I do apologize. I switched over the system. Let me double check the audio too. Yep. Okay. That was the, the backup was also on. So I had both the backup and the main on. I apologize. So, let's see. That's what would have happened. We would have had, at this point, Nancy Pelosi would be president if Trump had succeeded in doing any of these plans. That's the only constitutionally acceptable answer. So, and in part, that is also to avoid him doing exactly what it looked like he was attempting to do. Gee, I'm so sorry. I really hate it when I do something that simple and a screw up. And I remembered, I was like, turn off the backup, right? No. Shoot. All right. So, in addition, we know that on the 5th, Trump's lieutenants, including Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, and Steve Bannon, working from the Willard Hotel, contacted Mike Pence and gave him essentially the contents of... hold on one second. Gave him the contents of that... sorry, what is it? PowerPoint. He was instructed to follow one of those instructions, that is to either decertify all of Biden's electors in the key states that are in question, or decertify and replace them with new electors to be provided by either Trump's chief of staff or somebody else on the team, or barring any of that, to simply fail to certify and drag his feet out, ergo de facto making Trump president, which again still would not be legal. None of these would, by the Constitution, leave Trump as president. Absolutely none of them. It would mean we would not have a president and would have to follow the constitutional order of secession. At any rate, Trump refused to do any of those things. And it appears as if Trump then started working on a backup plan B to remain in office past the 6th. We don't know who made the PowerPoint presentation, but we do know it was presented to Mark Meadows, who said, quote, "I love it." And he had it in his possession and, in fact, had turned it over to... did turn it over with a whole bunch of other material to Congress, but strikes me as rather damning. And also, lastly, at least the last biggie, is that there is a powerful storm tonight. A collision of several weather fronts have created a extremely large storm across the central U.S. Over 55 million people are at risk for severe storms. Tornadoes, heavy snow, strong winds, and hail as big as 2 inches in diameter are expected. A tornado watch has been issued for central and eastern Arkansas, southern Missouri, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, western Kentucky, southern Illinois, and southwestern Indiana. From Arkansas to Indiana has been labeled a high risk for tornadoes overnight, and the city of Memphis has been put at moderate risk for severe storms, 4 out of 5, and this area has the strongest possibility of EF2 to EF5 tornadoes. A few other things. In China, their biggest developer has defaulted on their debt, and it's actually lost 87% of its stock value for the year. It with payments of $3.5 billion on U.S. dollar-denominated bonds coming up. New York Attorney General Trish James has issued subpoenas for former President Donald Trump in an ongoing fraud investigation in his businesses in New York. Has nothing to do with anything that we've talked about so far tonight. And London has agreed to the extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. That is expected to be appealed to their Supreme Court. But the argument is that the U.S. has agreed that he will be able to serve out his prison sentence in Australia. They have agreed that during the trial he will have his proper mental health care and proper jail facilities and so on and so forth. So, all right. What I'm going to do now is I'm tempted. I'll ask the live chat if they think I should go over the beginning of the rundown again. I doubt it. I mean, you guys did hear it, I think. So if you want me to go over it again, I'll go over it again. But long story short, Delta is already putting a strain on the system, and it looks like it's just starting. I mean, we just knew about this basically last week, and the UK has 249 cases today alone that they've identified. It's spreading rapidly, and it looks like the initial data suggests that it can get around the boosters. Sorry, not the boosters. It gets around the full vaccination status. So that's the 2 full shots. They have up to, it looks like, only about 30% efficacy is the initial data that we have so far. But it goes up to 70 or 75% if you get a booster. Pfizer seems to think that it can go even higher with a booster, and that actually the boosters seem to have significant effect on Omicron. So, let's hope. Anyways, if you'd like to discuss this or any of these other issues, the Trump business, it's almost a smoking gun. It's not quite a smoking gun, but this PDF that somebody just basically outlined how to overthrow the country, it has nothing to do with the actual riots per se. It has nothing to do with what happened in Congress directly. It doesn't say, hey, let's throw a whole bunch of people out there, although once Pence refused to do his part in it, the question is, okay, now what did Trump do? It's clear they were trying to do something, but it is, I heard it twice, yeah, yes you did. It is, I mean, if this were happening in any other country, we'd recognize it for what it is, right? I mean, if the president of any other country said, and when this happened in Myanmar, this is exactly what happened in Myanmar, right? The military came out and said, ooh, that last election was fake, and there was a lot of fraud, so we're going to invalidate the election, and we're going to stay in power until we can resolve this. First of all, the U.S. Constitution doesn't allow them to do that. It doesn't actually allow them to invalidate the election. It doesn't allow them to invalidate any of the results either, because the results are certified by their own states. The state could do it if they want to. I mean, the state could actually genuinely just, if a state wants to sort of invalidate all of the election results for its own election, it can do it. And there's nothing federally you can do about it, because the federal government is hands off on how states choose to distribute their electors. They can choose any process they want to. States do it slightly differently, as everybody knows. This gets confusing, but nonetheless, but once they've done it, there's no mechanism for the federal government or anyone in the federal government to overturn it. So, first of all, he wouldn't have the authority to do that. But second of all, even if he did, the only reasonable interpretation would be that we have no president, because you don't know who won. Doesn't mean that the person sitting there gets to stay there longer. His term is over. It doesn't say, when you swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States for your term, there was nothing there that says, but your term could be extended if there's nobody there to replace you. His term ends. It's over. It doesn't change that. It just means that there's nobody to take his place, so we have to follow the order of secession. That's all. It's not that complicated, but for the idea that if all he has to do is delay somebody taking his place, and that means he stays in office, that's not what it means. That's what a strong man thinks. That's what they think in Myanmar. That's what they think in any country where there's been a coup d'etat. If the president comes out and says, oh, gee, there's been an invalid election, I'll stay here to make sure that we get a valid one, that's universally recognized as unacceptable. That's what Trump was doing. This was his plan. I mean, he's got a PDF outlining exactly. Well, now, again, it wasn't his PDF. We don't know who made it. But I think this is going to be the smoking gun to a lot of people. And I have to believe at this point Mark Meadows is in serious trouble, as is as are all of them. I think there was a list. I think they just added another name to it, but I mean, I'm hoping Trump seems to be able to get out of a lot of this stuff, but it's been catching up with him. And I mean, New York is going to catch up with him. It's just going to take a little while. I think the Deutsche Bank stuff, that's all the criminal prosecution. He hasn't been granted a subpoena on any of that yet. So, we'll see. Yeah, I still feel, yeah. All right. Well, all right. You know what I can do too? The All right. Yeah. I really shouldn't have. Yeah, I should have double checked that. Well, so it's in time. You're going to be stuck with one of two things. Either I'm going to be muted for most of the show, or you're going to be hearing me twice. I do the hear me twice because I kind of feel like I need to make up for the fact that so many times we've done the show and nobody got to hear me, at least for the first 5 minutes. So I care about our audience. So that's why. Yeah, that's why I do this. That's why I put you through this, is because I care about you. Yeah. All right. So like I said, the link is in the description. The link is pinned to the top of the comments. So anybody who wants to join, come on in. Yeah, I will be honest. I am getting worried about Omicron. It's just not looking good. It's not looking like worst case scenario. But if it's truly worse than Delta, and I think well, no, I don't think. I know there's evidence now suggesting that. If it is, I think that's obviously that's serious. So the UK is going back to some set of lockdowns. They've got it what they've called option B, I think, and they've decided Omicron is now serious enough that they're going to go do that. And I don't know what we're going to do in the U.S. I mean, the biggest problem is getting the vaccinations and then the boosters. But I don't know. There's a new normal to some extent where we're just going to be sitting here and always having to think about it. But here we are now, and we sort of coming back to almost a normal life, and then we end up. We get hit with another variant, and it's because we haven't taken this seriously. And the reason we haven't taken this seriously is the same reason. The reason we haven't taken this seriously is a lack of education. Anybody who doesn't understand how $5 native atheist. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it when you take the time to let me know and you hit me up with a super chat. So thank you. Very much. I appreciate that. I said it before, so I've been an educator all my life in one way or another. All my life. I was tutoring when I was in high school, and from then on, just that's it. I got a teaching certificate. Never taught elementary school, but I can teach it. I'm certified too. I'm certified as a high school teacher too. Taught college briefly. Well, tutored it really. But yeah, that's far more appropriate. But at any rate, I think education is the silver bullet, and it always is strange to me when there are people who don't share that view, which you find, of course, a bit more in the South. But you like our military, you want better tanks, you're going to need somebody who can make armor. That's a chemist, and a good education makes better chemists. Good education makes a better anti-virologist. You want to solve problems with farming? We do need farmers. We absolutely need farmers, but we're growing faster than our farms can keep up. We just are. And there are alternatives. You want rice that has nutrients just grown right into it so that you can feed, starving populations. It's an educated person. And they're not the end-all be-all of everything. Education isn't the end-all be-all of everything. There's a life out there past getting an education. But it's a silver bullet to solving our problems. It just is. It just is. It just is. So, that's one reason I like to do shows like this. But because I hope, half of it is, of course, preaching to the choir. But I was talking a couple nights ago with somebody who doesn't believe in evolution. And, it doesn't matter how much evidence there is. It doesn't matter. Okay. But this is, and, I'm glad we're having on Seth. We have Seth next week. We're going to discuss how to improve the discourse, because we're all guilty on occasion of sometimes more than on occasion, but we're all guilty at least sometimes of getting frustrated and not realizing we're talking to human beings who don't necessarily share our values. But it's hard to imagine very many values, whatever they are, individualism, self-reliance, whatever your values are, it's hard to imagine any of them that are made better by not keeping COVID in some semblance of check. And just by putting masks and social distancing on everybody from day one would be in so much of a better position right now. And I'd really I need somebody to explain to me what, this isn't a Star of David. We're asking people to put on their jackets. This is a public health issue. There's a reason you have to wear pants at a McDonald's. Okay. I need somebody to explain this to me. At any rate, Jake, $45. Thank you, Jake. I reject your false dichotomy and demand both. With enough echo, we can hear and not understand anything. So do we really hear anything? Yeah, In Time is, I think In Time is the smartest channel you've never heard. Maybe the smartest channel you've never understood. You've either not heard it because I've been muted, or hey, yeah, either you've not heard it because I've been muted, or you've heard an echo. So it's the smartest channel you've never understood. I'll go with that. Thank you. So let's see. Echo Nick is less than silent Nick. Yeah, okay. Well, and I was getting, I was pretty passionate there for that intro. So, oh dear Lord. So sorry that it was ruined by that. So 6 months since my Pfizer dealt. Yeah. I don't know. So I'm thinking, let's see, the actual the one estimate that I heard when we had on 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐜𝐿, one estimate he had was that if you want to talk about the number of people who die as a result of coronavirus, not because they die because of it, but they die from some ancillary consequence from it, there's at least one of those for everybody who dies of it. And I think somebody in the live chat was saying the number seems to be to them 4. That's initially seems high, but when you think about it, it's tough. It's really tough to say. We obviously don't know. The New York Times was the last one to do anything on it, and I think they had successfully demonstrated it was at least 50%. I think you can safely say it's 100%. So for every person that dies in either a hospital bed or just at home from COVID, or just directly from COVID, there's somebody else who's died as a result of infrastructure failing, or infrastructure not meeting the demands that they had in some way or another. Keep in mind, too, we've had nurses die from COVID. So when a nurse dies from COVID, how many more people do you think end up dying later because that nurse died? When a doctor dies from COVID, if it's a doctor in a small community that's dealing with COVID, doctors and nurses are more likely to get COVID because of the close contact they're in with COVID. And the fact that they're running themselves ragged, treating patients in the hallways, isn't conducive to good health in the first place. Nurses and doctors have always had a higher mortality rate, at least the ones who were practicing in hospitals, as a result of COVID. So if you don't get the vaccine, you get sick, and you go to the hospital and you come out just fine, okay, fine. But your hospital bed could have gone to somebody else who might otherwise die because they couldn't get into the hospital because you were taking up a bed. And you could have gotten a nurse or doctor sick. Did you? I don't know. But I guarantee you some have. So some of the people who aren't vaccinated. So it's the problem is the consequences are invisible. We don't do well with intellectualized arguments. We really don't. I don't. If I get the vaccine, I don't notice anything 2 weeks later that's different. It doesn't change my life in the slightest. So I just have to know that, well, gee, I've gotten a vaccine, and now I'm going to be safer, and my family's going to be safer. I'm told, right? I've never actually met COVID before. I was told I had it once, but that was a doctor who told me. So who knows? I didn't go say, "Hey, COVID, my name is Nick." So it's a very ethereal thing. You have to trust all these people who know, who claim to know so much more about this than you do. So I do get that, and we don't function well when we can't see or feel the consequences. You've taken the shot, and you maybe get sick for a couple of days, and you may still get COVID, you may still get sick, so it's sort of like, what the hell, right? And that's why education is important, and that's why patience is important. But it was Sister Porpoise who talked about, I think it was compassion fatigue, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling the impatience because. Again, there was this meme of this, woman holding up a sign saying, "Oh, well, my autonomy," and all this other stuff. And I was just like, I think the argument that people who have COVID are weapons is a valid legal argument. You are a biological weapon. And, I don't know that. I think mandating that you have to be vaccinated to go to, and I don't understand. We already do so many mandated vaccines: polio, measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus. All of these are mandated already. So, why don't we add this one? And it's not like we're just casually saying, "Oh, well, you've already got 6. Let's toss another onto the pile." This is a pretty big one. It's not polio. I'll grant you, it's not polio. But wait, I mean, it can get worse. And since we don't know what the effects of brain fog are, we know that people are getting it, and we know that there are long-term effects that we've been completely unaware of. So we don't, because of that, the math on this is not easy, but you have to sit and you have to do it. And I don't know. As I said, I'm feeling the frustration. Somebody had said she was in a grocery store, and someone came in behind her, and that person was just standing looking at her. She's wearing a mask, and then the guy goes, "Fucking sheep." So she turns to the guy, says, "Listen, sir, what you do on your spare time is up to you. That's perfectly fine, but you don't need to go and tell us all about it." Which I think is hilarious. I think that's I'm going to hold on to that one. I'm not sure that that's necessarily improving the discourse, but I'm going to hold on to that one. Apparently the cashier laughed his ass off and so, but it's just amazing that this issue has become so polarizing. And, there are people getting in fights over this, and people who, they'll pull somebody else's mask off, which is, by the way, an assault. That's an assault. You can't pull somebody's mask off if you're sitting. And these are people who are talking about autonomy, right? Like, oh, autonomy. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. Okay, fine. But the second you take off somebody's mask against their will, you've just violated their autonomy, right? Am I missing something? Yeah. Oh, dear Lord. So, oh yeah, Canadians are welcome to jump into this. Anybody wants to come into the stream? I think, let's see, is there anybody? Nope, I don't think anybody's in the lobby here, but anybody wants to come on in and chat about this. And again, thank you guys. Thank you both Jake 40 and Native Atheist. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate that. So I am looking forward to Seth Andrews on Tuesday. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I want to make sure, I want to go over his last interview and a few of the things. Not his last, because I'd seen he had done a discussion where he was talking about that, specifically about improving the level of discourse with, specifically with theists. And I think that that's a worthy discussion. I'm looking forward to, in part, that, but also just the whole 9 yards on Tuesday. I think that's going to be great. We're still looking to get a couple of other guests. We've got three other guests that we're looking at booking, but we just had sort of little things with all of them. So we're just going to try to sort it out. And my hope is we get all of them. One or two now I'm a little less optimistic about, but you know what? I'm going no, you know what? I'm going to have faith. I'm going to be unreasonably optimistic anyway. So yeah, so no, I think people don't want to come in because they're intimidated by the echo. Which if you come in, there's no echo on this side. Maybe I should turn the echo back on and then just say, hey, you want to stop hearing the echo? You got to come into the show. That's an interesting one. So, and then this is one of the things I like about the After Dark in general. After dark, you let your hair back and I bitch a bit more, I guess. But we've got also, I don't know, this is all, so much of this, it's a wide variety. So that's, of course, that's an 80s thing right below me right now. But we also had Gerald from The Witcher. Oh, hey, Pat, how's it going? Good to see you. You missed my rant on COVID. The interesting thing, the Chinese economy, too. I mean, they've been staving off having a major economic collapse. They've fed their people now. So 10 years ago, 10 years ago, they had a real problem with starvation. They've managed to get that under control. At least we're pretty sure they have. It looks like they have. But they have a boomer problem, very similar to our boomer problem in the U.S., which is they have a whole bunch of males from the one-child policy that are now unmarried and have no one to either live with and or take care of them or anything like that. They don't have families. So they get older, and the state's going to have to take care of them. And it's this huge wave that's going to be a drain on their system. There's no group behind them to pick up the slack. So they've got that. They've got a couple other significant economic issues. So we'll have to see. The Evergrande, they've quasi-bailed Evergrande out. We'll see what happens like long-term with them. But if that company goes, and then now I think they've got another two companies that look like they're going to default. It's possible the U.S. Treasury has warned that there could be contagion and it could hit the U.S. I don't know. It problem is China invests in the U.S. a lot. So when China starts to have economic problems, we're going to start to have economic problems. The void, the shield there is for whatever reason, it's the nice scrolling effect just doesn't, it's not loading on this one, but I'll get to it. There's always something, right? So, yeah, no, it's just hilarious. I'm really hoping they get Trump too. And, I do wish Zandering was here for some of these discussions. Now, Zandering really did not like Trump, but in the same way that, you know, I would defend Bush if I really didn't think he did anything wrong, and it upset a lot of my liberal friends because they're like, you know, why are you defending him? I was like, well, I'm defending the truth, and there's enough legit stuff to get Bush on. You don't need to make shit up. So, you know, you give at least a modicum of charity to his positions, and, you know, go from there. But with Trump and immigration and the what is it? Zandering is not a fan of Trump's, but certainly gives Trump a bit more credit than I give him. So I do wish we had him here, and I'd also like to get his take on the what is it? Joe would be good too. But Joe and I tend to agree on most things. Zandering and I. Funny, we actually agree on more than we disagree on, but we do have these left-right disagreements. It's just he's a unicorn. He's the one, you know, conservative that I found that is really genuinely, at least in my view, completely reasonable, and you know, don't always agree with him, but at least I understand how he got there. And it's usually well-intentioned, which is hard to. I mean, it's hard. I normally question the intentions of conservatives who, in the same way that they question, you know, the welfare system, and they say, well, people on welfare just want to, you know, not work and so on and so forth. Well, there are some slackers, of course, but, you know, that's not what drives the welfare system. But by that same token, when I sit there and say, well, the only people who want guns are the, you know, the people who are either you know, over enamored of these weapons, or who are interested in blowing somebody's head off given enough, you know, they just like the idea of, you know, they don't want to go out and cause a fight, but, you know, they want a fight to happen, and they want to, you know, which is what Rittenhouse was accused of being, and certainly we've seen many, many times. I mean, so it's not just on that issue. I think it's a number of ones. So what I'm going to do is, we're actually coming up on the hour mark. So if anyone has any questions that they want me to hit, I'd be sure to cover them as best to my ability. But let me just see here. Then the Julian Assange. Yeah, I think he's going to come to the U.S. The UK is said that. So the UK does not want him assassinated by the CIA. They have explicitly said that. So we have agreed not to let the CIA assassinate him. A number of his supporters and defenders say that is not. The CIA has already tried to kill him, and you know, they don't want him anywhere near the CIA, where they can get vengeance on him for all the secrets that he's leaked. We have said that we would guarantee his safety, guarantee a fair trial, and guarantee physical and mental health while he's here, and then we would ship him off to serve his time in Australia. So I think that overcomes most of the UK's objections, and the UK doesn't really want to hold someone that we want. So I think Assange. I think we're going to get Assange. It's amazing how long that took. Wow, and he's unhinged. He is. Yeah, he's losing it. I don't know how much he ever had it. I don't know, but he's not going to be our problem. We'll try him. I can't imagine he wouldn't get convicted, and then he gets sent down to Australia. It becomes their problem. So yeah, that's good. And then we were thinking of going live with the subpoena for Donald Trump, just because, hey, it's a subpoena that somebody issued for him. That's news. But, you know, we try to hold off on going live until it's something that's big, and this was on the bar to get on our radar. But I felt, you know, just that he got the subpoena, and because actually it was subpoenas, they were in a civil suit. They were in the Attorney General's civil suit against his business, and this is the way they've been building this, they've already got now his. What is it? His CFO, and I think the number 3 person at his company. And my guess is they've rolled on him. The one thing that, and that is a little odd. Normally, you don't issue a subpoena like this to, your main target. They're not going to, they're not going to testify. So this isn't normally done. And James is actually almost at the end of his term. So the question is, what's he doing? I have no idea. I do know Trump would easily, just plead the fifth. He's going to fight it anyway. I mean, there's no reason not to fight it. But even if he gets it, he's going to plead the fifth because anything he says here, even though this is a civil suit, could get held against him in a criminal suit. This is what happened with Cosby. So Cosby was told, in fact, that he'd get immunity from criminal prosecution for anything he disclosed civilly. And civilly, he essentially admitted to raping these women. That was used against him in a criminal court. And the problem is there had been a deal in place that he would not be prosecuted in order to win the civil, and they'd have lost the civil hearing if he hadn't been honest. And it's so rare. Most of the time, they don't trust the attorney, so they don't do it. But that's why DAs have to be able to make these kinds of deals. Well, the DA went back on the deal, and that's why eventually, Cosby served time, but then got released because the judge found, no, you cannot. You said you wouldn't do it. And without that evidence, you wouldn't have convicted him. So Cosby's out. Nobody's going to make a deal with Trump on this. And since they're looking at Trump for criminal charges, there's no reason to do this. This makes no sense to me. So I don't know. The best solipsist jokes of the night were $2. Sinister Porpoise. Thank you, Porpoise. I don't know. That's a good question. Let's see. I don't know. I think I had a few. I had a few right before the show started, and we were talking either about doing a solipsist joke, or you've been talking recursion on the last show, and that inspired me to do one. But honestly, I'm a little tired. I'm doing better. I got my booster, which was nice. The day I got my booster, I was fine. I didn't really feel anything. The next day, I woke up with a really bad headache, and just really tired. And today I'm actually very low energy. I'm trying to project, and there's a microphone. I'm trying to have as much energy as possible, but I still have a headache, low energy. Much better though. But I did that show last night with the what is it, with the woman who believes in does not believe in evolution. I'd really like to be able to have a discussion. What I want to do is have a discussion with somebody who does not believe in evolution, and just have an honest discussion. The problem is to really get it so that you could get them at least thinking about it. I think would probably take 3 or 4 hours. I think you got to start at the point of, okay, would you really be interested in knowing if? And they're going to say yes, but then the problem is, well, do you say that, but is there a possibility? So let's talk about what constitutes evidence and what you'd accept as evidence, and let's go from there, and then you go over the evidence and all this. I don't know, but I'd love to have that discussion. Oh yeah, so Pat, so I did eventually jump in on that discussion. I think you left, but I jumped in. I only made a couple of points, but they were similar ones I'd made in the Hovind debate. I think tried to say all the evidence for evolution. Evolution's a theory, so there's going to be loads of evidence for it from different ways and there's no easy way you can't just, but the easiest would be that all the data is mirrored in several different records from different, it's the fossil record is identical to the what we see in our DNA, which is identical to what Darwin himself observed. So, Darwin came up with a tree of life. It was very rudimentary. But then nobody had even heard of DNA. Then when we discovered DNA, we track that down. What happens? Same tree. Much better detail, but same map. It's like, okay, 2 different maps from 2 different sources. And then you find the geological column. Guess what? That concurs. Map is the same. If you just map it, and it's just like, strikes me that covers it. But what do you really think is going to happen? I expect people to escape any form of criminal. Trump. No, Trump is going to get hooked on. I think Trump is going to get hooked on Deutsche Bank, and I think it's going to be criminal. He's going to get nailed on money laundering, but that's, I think, the state attorney general, not the no, sorry, the district attorney. So the New York attorney general, Trish James, that is the state attorney general, and they're looking into something civil. I don't honestly care what. I mean, she could take all his money if she wants to, but that's civil. The district attorney for the Southern District, that is an aggressive district, and they're patient, and they've broken up criminal organizations before. I don't think they're going to have a hard time, and I think they're going to get him. I think they're going to get him at a minimum on money laundering. It looks like they've already gotten him two on a number of bad business practices, including bad loans and misrepresenting his money in order to get those loans. So relying on all these, he's got a whole bunch of. But the Deutsche Bank stuff is what's going to take the longest. I also think the IRS is going to hit him, and I think that's going to be criminal as well. The IRS is still doing their investigation. They're serious about this, and with blood in the water, I mean, nobody wants to be the first one to really try to injure or damage Trump. But once somebody does it, then everybody's going to jump in. He's going to get sued. He's already got what, 2,000 lawsuits, like small, tiny ones, but just, the number of people who are suing him for shit that he's probably done. I mean, he was terrible about, he didn't pay a lot of the contractors who worked for him. It was just at any rate, I think he's going to get hooked by the Southern District of New York. I think they're going to get him. I think it's going to be criminal. I think it's going to be reasonably significant. On the other hand, I thought they'd get him on emoluments, and then the Supreme Court overturned that. But you know what? I failed to predict that he was going to successfully pack the Supreme Court, and that they'd actually do that. So I guess, yeah, that was mine. I think that was the only. I thought that had teeth, and it doesn't matter anymore. So I think they're going to get him on that, and I think over a long enough time scale, and he may be dead before. So I mean, he may be, he's getting a little up there in years, and he doesn't take that great care of his body. But if he, my guess is they're also gonna get him on some of this January stuff and a few of the other things he did as president. How much, I don't know, but I think there are a number of people in government who are really pissed by this and who are taking it really seriously. And as long as they can remain in some semblance of power, I think they're going to be interested in having a day of reckoning for him on that. But at a minimum, he's going to get nailed by the New York Southern District, I think. And I think he's going to be looking at jail time there. Like, I have almost no doubt of it, if that answers your question, Pat. So, but yeah, he may escape criminal charges on the from Trish James, but James is now working with the district attorney, and they've kind of merged their investigations, so they're sharing data, so they're going to use it. Yeah, I'm the poster boy for low energy. Okay, thank you, low T suitor, I guess. Yep, there we go. And it's not the $400 suit, but sinister porpoise, $2. Solipsism again? No, wait, this is a recursion joke. There's got to be a really good recursion joke. The problem is, solipsism is already one that's hard enough to explain to people. Well, actually, it's easy to explain to people, but unless you know something about philosophy or had it explained, you don't know what it is. So people don't always get the solipsist jokes. But recursion is even more esoteric. I mean, you have to have some programming experience to understand a recursion joke. And I also have no idea how you do it, but I've been saving all my drummer jokes for bass player jokes for Mowdy. So I'm memorizing a whole bunch of them just to be a pain in his ass. Yeah, I don't. They don't usually do posthumous convictions on most stuff. They may form a committee to assess blame or yada yada yada, but there's no, if you can't actually punish the person in general, they don't. There's some other forum for determining whether or not they violated a public trust or something. But in terms of any criminal charges, you can't have criminal penalties. So once somebody's dead, there's no criminal penalties that you can, you could hit the estate, I suppose, if there's an estate and you want to take something from that. but even that has complications. So it's doable, but. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to wrap it up. So sorry again. I'm glad we got the mic under control. I apologize for that. And if you guys bear with me for 1 second. All right. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. And no, presidents have immunity while they are in office. That's it. And then afterwards, they don't. So they're still culpable for whatever they've done in office. There may be a few situations where they have. I should look into that. I can't think of one. I remember I was on the board. It's odd. I was on the board of an HOA once. I was actually the president of the board of an HOA, and I had immunity. So as long as I was doing what I believed at the time to be at the best interest of the board, I couldn't be sued. And I had a couple people threaten to sue me once or twice. I was like, go ahead. California state law says you can't. I was like, you can sue the company, but you can't sue me. It's a volunteer position anyway. So it's just weird to think that as the president of a board, I had more immunity than the president of the United States. But if he's got immunity on anything, I can't fathom. I'm trying to think. There may be one esoteric thing, but short of that, I don't think they've got qualified immunity on anything. Like I said, the only thing they have is they have immunity while they're in office. So I can't believe how much of I mean, I know it's the boiling frog syndrome, which I know somebody's going to get ticked at me because it's not true, but it's the boiling frog syndrome. You take a look at all these people who you'd think are otherwise rational people, and the only rational one amongst them was Pence, who was like, no, I am not going to subvert the Constitution of the United States and not do it while I'm on the floor of the Senate. Thank you. And everybody else was just like, well, no, it was a bad election. We're just going to decertify the results and we'll keep trumping off. It's insane. And this is the other thing that I just can't. What blows my mind is, again, this would the idea was to give him another term. It's like, even if you decertify it, the best you could do is on that day he's out of office and Nancy Pelosi is president. That's it. That's how it works. We do have a system for dealing with this. So yeah, I don't know. It's clear. Hold on. Yeah, let's we'll get Jake in here. How are you, Jake? Oh, I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, no, I can't hear you. What am I saying? Yeah. You there? Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, okay, he's getting sound, so just check that. But are you there, Jake? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Teams decided to not work.
Oh, dear Lord.
That's all right, though. I eventually kind of got it working, I think. How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. Can you give me just 3 minutes? I'll still be able to hear you, but I'm going to move away from my mic, and I'm going to close this. So just tell me what's going on and what you're thinking, and I can still hear you, but I'll be muted.
Yeah, I thought that the last thing you were speaking about that was the Trump having immunity while he's in office. I thought when he leaves office, he can't be sued for anything he did while acting in the office of the president. So anything he did as the president, he can't be sued under. So I don't know. There was one other thing I was thinking about, is that video that that came out recently, or at least I just saw it recently, where Joe Biden, I guess it was yesterday, Joe Biden said all women and men are created equal. And then Fox is like, oh, he added women to the document. That's not what it says, and it matters because they are, quote, sacred words of our founders. Oh my God, no. Sacred, we should never use sacred. Nothing should ever be sacred. Nothing should ever be held as sacred. We should always work to improve upon the past. We have many mistakes, including our founders have had many mistakes in the documents that we have for founding the country. And no,
Slavery
do
is in those
not hold
sacred
it sacred.
documents too, but yeah.
Seriously, like, come on. If you truly hold it as sacred, then you can never improve upon it, and then you've already lost. You've already lost.
Yep, I am still actually going to need to go. I can do another 2 or 3 minutes, but I am going to have to bail. So I know you just got in, so I'm sorry, but was there anything else that you wanted to quickly discuss? So he absolutely can. I mean. Nixon had to be pardoned because he could be absolutely held accountable for what he did while he was in office. If he hadn't been pardoned, it'd have been hooked on it. So that's why Ford pardoned him, and that's why the pardoning was so serious, because everyone wanted him to face criminal charges for what he had done. But Trump can absolutely get into trouble for what he did in office. But I mean, there are certain things he probably can't, again, if it's done in good faith. But any abuse of power, certainly, if he's got an immunity, which I'm not I don't think he does, but it's certainly, there are exceptions to it, and Nixon proved that.
Well, it's not. It's a very complicated issue for sure. Either way, it's like you see all these trials that are going on recently, and people are like, "Oh my God, how come they didn't include this thing or that thing?" Like, there are reasons, and there are good reasons for it. Talk to Nate, the lawyer, or talk to somebody like Nate. Recently has done all these trials, or a lot of these trials, and I'm like, okay. Before I heard what Nate had to say, I was like, WTF? And now I'm like, okay, I get it. I don't like it, but with the way we have it set up, that there's definitely things that cannot be included for very good reason, and. It'd be nice to have to talk to a constitutional lawyer. I think it would be the right person, right type of lawyer to talk about the what he may be liable for. And as every lawyer says, well, it depends.
It depends. Well, and then actually, I wanted to. I would like to get a lawyer on to discuss Roe v. Wade and what's going to happen with that. We don't have. We could probably get Nate on. Nate has already made some predictions, but we have some lawyers that we've had that have been really, they're actually specialized in the Supreme Court. So I'm hoping that, well, we'll see. So I'm trying to get a lawyer. Maybe it's going to be Nate, somebody at least who can come on to say, okay, what exactly are they going to be talking about in the latest Roe v. Wade, the direct challenge to Roe v. Wade, and what are we likely looking at, and maybe make some predictions and see what's going on. But we'll have to see. So I think it's a good idea to get Nate on or somebody for that. But yeah. All right. Well, I'm sorry to bail on you so soon after you showing up, but unfortunately, I do need to. Something came up, so I'm going to go deal with that. But thank you very much, Jake, for stopping by. And I sent you the link, and I'll send you on Fridays, because I'll always love having you. So I'll just make sure I'll send you the link in the Discord. And it's the holidays, so I think we're getting awfully busy. But good to see you. And anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, there's a very good reason other than just Echo to join the live stream. Usually there's a lot of lag, and that you can also get rid of the lag and the echo.
Exactly.
And
no echo on there, yeah.
Nick can only ignore you so much if you're in the stream. You know, there's benefits to being here.
It's the thing. Yeah. Okay. Well, no. Yeah. But see, here's the thing. See, I got this button right here, and if I push this button, you get muted, and it kicks you all off the show watch. Crap. Okay, I'll have to work on that. Okay, I'll get the buttons sorted out. Thank you so much, Jake, and thank you all for joining us. And we will see you Tuesday with Seth Andrews to discuss improving the conversation. Thank you all for joining us.